One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Akilah Laster. Akilah is the Assistant Director of Athletic Communications at Cal. Greetings, Akilah. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Akilah, there at Cal, you work with volleyball, softball, and men's gymnastics. And, of course, you spent time at Oklahoma, at Miami. You were a freelance sports writer down in Miami and interned with the Orange Bowl. And I guess the key to everything was that you taught language arts in high school for 6 years, right?
Yeah, that was really what propelled me to go into college athletics was I got tired of high school students.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. No, I loved it. I thought college athletics was kind of bridging that gap of my passion for education and teaching and working with students and also being able to work in the athletics environment because I also coached basketball as well when I was at the high school. So, yeah, I was hustling. You know, your 20s are for that.
So 5 years now in sports, right? 6 years coaching and teaching in high school. When you made the transition, did you refer to a lot of the things that you did as a high school teacher? Like, are you using skills that you developed when you were developing high school students?
Yeah, I think what I learned about when I from teaching is just connecting with a variety of different personalities and kind of listening and learning as you go. And I use that in my approach when I'm talking to my student athletes now, especially when I'm trying to get stories from them or just connecting with them. So, to bring the best out of them. That has helped tremendously. And just kind of learning professionalism and what kind of, I guess, challenges and opportunities just the education industry faces and meets. I think all that has helped too. And then coaching basketball, because I used to play in high school and all that, gave me some street cred. So,
what I hear about you, your friends tell you that wherever you work, you look at how things are run, learn a little bit, do things at a high level, and then once you feel comfortable and once the people around you feel comfortable, then you challenge the processes of how things are done. And it's not because you're challenging authority, but because you may see a better way to do things.
Yeah, I guess because I didn't have a traditional route into college athletics, I just always naturally have a lot of questions about why things happen the way they are happening or why we do things a certain way. If I'm not used to doing them a certain way, and it's not necessarily like they're doing them wrong, it's something that I think, there's another opportunity to do it a different way. And I think that's actually been what's helped me. I mean, I keep reminding myself the future favors the bold, so I try to be bold, but thoughtful in my critiques or questions and assessments of things, so to help everyone, and not just myself, but everyone and every organization that I've been a part of get better. I
guess the key for your questioning processes to be received is they also have to perceive you as somebody who does great work. Right? Have you seen that when you go into an institution and take the time to establish yourself as a hard worker?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think not only do you need to have great work behind you and show that what you're doing has, wonderful results and that it can be translated, but they also need to know that you care. I always remember one of my colleagues said, I spoke up about something. She was like, that was the first time I knew you actually cared. Because, I think, I don't know, my personality is interesting, But I think there's just a layer that you have to peel back to kind of get to know me. And I think a lot of people are like that. But, if you really get to know me or sit down and talk to me, you know that, I have a big heart and I really care about things. I want everybody to be principled and things to be run the right way for the student athletes or for people to maximize their own success stories and their own abilities. And I think that comes from teaching. And I think it was the same thing. Once my students knew that I cared, I could pull the best out of them. So it's the same for cultures in organizations and people that you're working with in organizations.
You got to make sure they know, because you don't want to just go in and right away start challenging.
That is never. That's
right?
The best way to meet resistance. Who's this person think they are? And you don't know me. And I think we're all like that. We all resist initial change or people in general until we get to know them on a more human level, and matter of fact, you want them to get to know you on a more human level and recognize you. And I kind of take that approach in my job when I'm writing feature stories with student athletes. how can I best expose who they really are so that other people see them as full humans. And it's about like providing that empathetic lens for them.
All right, one more question on this challenging processes thing. Now, sometimes when you do that, people aren't receptive. Have you come across, I guess, the resistance? You've been at a couple, 2 or 3 places. Tell me about how you received the resistance and how you worked through that gap in communication, or whatever it was there.
Yeah, I think, I have definitely received resistance. I think I've given resistance too. So I think what I've learned is that if you're receiving resistance, you gotta see if it's the timing or the way you communicated it, or sometimes it's just not appropriate for whatever space you're in, or where the organization or that person is in their journey. And like I said, the timing, I think, is one of the biggest things I had to learn. Like, I want things to happen quickly because it makes sense and like there's a plan of action. But sometimes it's like, okay, well, it can't happen now, but maybe in a year or maybe in a few months that this would be more of a feasible thing to try to challenge and try to change. But you definitely have to also think about how you come across, and that's something like, because I'm pretty outspoken just naturally, but I have to kind of remember, like, people receive different words and different messages in their own unique way based off their own perspectives and their own life experiences. So having to kind of tailor to that and perceive that as well.
Right, that's important. So your title, Assistant Director of Athletic Communications. I'd say probably over the last 10 to 15 years, the role of what was previously called, and still some places called, Sports Information Director, that role has morphed to include, or if you're smart, you'll include digital and creative ways to tell stories. Tell me about how you've seen, in just the 5 years you've been in the profession, you've seen that change. Have you been involved in that change in the places you've been?
Yeah, what's unique, I feel pretty privileged to have seen kind of the transition, because I also worked for a newspaper, so I've worked in a very traditional frame for media, and I've also seen, the advent of social media. Like, I remember when Facebook first started, I was in college, and so to see where things are now has been incredible. I think what we have to remember now is that because newspapers are a dying medium, unfortunately, and because there are so many other ways to receive messages, not just on TV, that we have to get ahead of it. And the best way that I've seen is being super collaborative, and you have to be innovative and work with your creative services team. Like, I tell our graphic designers at Cal all the time, and our video, like they are like the heart of our athletics department. I think they're undervalued in probably across the industry, but I think people are starting to recognize how much they have to do, and how much, like, if you're doing rebranding or you're just from us, like, graphics and all the stuff, and our signage, all that is from our graphics designers, creative talent, and I don't think that's been appreciated. But one of the things I was able to do when I got to Cal was kind of connect the communication staff with the creative staff and build more of a relationship, and not just like these two silos that send emails back and forth when they need something, and kind of build it like more like a collaborative effort. And now we're kind of under one umbrella, so things are starting to shift that way in the industry. And even as SIDs or media directors, you aren't doing the same things that you used to do. We're not spending as much time, or we shouldn't be spending as much time on game recaps, game notes, but we're talking about storytelling now, and that's been a big push. I keep seeing people asking me how they should tailor their resumes for these job descriptions, and everything says be a great storyteller, have ability to tell stories on Instagram or on Facebook, or how are you using Twitter to to get information to your audiences. And I think you have to keep those things in mind and be really able to maximize the audiences in those spaces. And the people that do it best are our graphics people, because those are the spaces that they're creating for anyway. So they're very in tune with the trends and the direction where things are going from that standpoint.
I'd imagine your skills as a storyteller and writer, language arts teacher, have proven beneficial to the people you've worked with when you talk about storytelling, especially in the digital age, where you got to now it's more than words. There's also the visual aspect of storytelling.
Yeah, all that has helped. I think one of my biggest strengths has been my ability to be creative and write. Like, I can think, like, I can't do everything our graphic designers and stuff do, but I know how to spot good graphic design, and I can think creatively. So, and that's always been a strong point, and that's come across in my storytelling. Like, what's a creative way to say this? It's no different than what's a creative way to post this on Instagram, or how can we tell this story that I'm writing a long form piece for? How can that translate to something in video, and how can we get a graphic from that? Or what photos? How can we put photos together in a way that tells a story for us?
I don't know how many, but there aren't very many African American women in the role you're in, whether it be leading a department in terms of communications, whether it be like you, assistant director, or whatever level of it is. Tell me why that is significant, and if that is something that should probably be increased.
Well, it's interesting because, last time I checked, I was one of 3 at the Power 5 level, and I met the other 2, so that's sad. But I think it's a unique, being a minority or a double minority as a black woman. It gives me a unique lens, and knowing that there's so many other identities that matter to me, it helps me approach people with a really empathetic heart and mind, and so I'm able to connect or notice certain things that, if I didn't have the experiences of feeling overlooked or feeling misunderstood or what have you, then I probably wouldn't be able to empathize with that in other people. But because I have had so many other experiences, because of my position in society and in the industry, it allows me to connect more authentically with people and tell stories that some people may have overlooked.
And that's people in general, right?
Yeah, that's
Not
people
even
in general.
white, black women.
No, I think anytime you can start to notice something inside somebody that you felt or experienced yourself, that's an automatic connector. And really, people are hiring and working with people that they find have a deeper connection in, versus just, oh, you're a man that looks like me, or you're a woman that looks like me, let me hire you. But now it's like, I connect with you. There's something about your spirit or something about your experience that makes sense for this department. And I think, that helps, especially with telling the story of student athletes and coaches as well.
It's pretty astute, and it's pretty impressive that from your experience, whether it's good or bad, as a black woman, and what you've been through has helped sharpen your skills to see other people, whether they're male or female, black, white, Latin, whatever they are. You can see when somebody may be going through something because of what you've been through.
Yeah, I mean, I think hardships are probably the easiest thing to connect with people over. No matter how great somebody's life is, there's some sort of hardship, and kind of understanding that. I think you give people the benefit of the doubt more. You just allow people to be more human, and I think that has been really important just in my approach for my professional life.
All right, excellent. Well, Akilah, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
I feel special for being able to do this, so thank you, and I love your platform and everything you've been doing. So,
yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. That was Akilah Laster. She is the Assistant Director of Athletic Communications at Cal. And, of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.